I'm Marianne Martindale. I'm the CEO of the Utah Academy of Family Physicians, and I am very happy that we are recognizing Representative Judkins as this year's Family Medicine Champion Award recipient. When I think of Representative Judkins, two words always come to mind: integrity and thoughtfulness. Unfortunately, those are not always adjectives that you would use for those in politics, but they definitely are appropriate for Representative Judkins. As an example, a couple of years ago, we learned that when Utah had expanded Medicaid, they had not approved annual well care visits for adults. I did a bunch of research and found that for a relatively small investment, every single adult on Medicaid could get an annual checkup. As is obvious to even those outside the healthcare world, routine care is really important for prevention and early detection. It saves money, it saves lives, it saves long-term care. Representative Judkins was the first person that I thought of to run this legislation. During Health and Human Services committees, she has consistently shown compassion and understanding of the needs for services. When I first approached her about it, I remember her saying, "We don't already cover that? Well, that's not very smart." She immediately recognized the social, emotional, and even economic reasons for providing basic continual care, especially for those who are our most vulnerable. She took it on, she got it funded, and thanks to Representative Judkins, Medicaid patients are now able to get annual well care visits. She also acts in a very thoughtful way, and in this sense, I'm speaking of her ability to really listen and her desire to truly understand, whether it be constituent concern or proposed legislation. I've sat through a lot of committees where it's very clear that the proposal or the concept isn't very well understood, yet a decision is going to be made about whether to support or oppose a bill. Representative Judkins doesn't think like that, however. Instead of operating under that false belief that she should just know everything, she asks the tough questions, and she's never afraid to say, "I don't understand this. Can you explain this better?" And she continues until she's satisfied that she can make a reasonable and educated vote. There have been so many times when I've seen her tenacity and questioning help both good bills get passed and kept bad bills from moving forward, and we have really appreciated her voice. She is truly one of the best legislators that I've ever had the pleasure to work with. Even if we were to find ourselves on opposite sides of an issue, I know that she would be considerate, respectful, and she would take the time to understand my perspective and take the time needed to explain hers.
So my name is Carrie Butler. I am the Executive Director of Utah Public Health Association. I've been working with the legislature on major health policy issues for about 10 years now. I was lucky enough to be able to work with Representative Judkins on some pretty big health policies that are confusing and convoluted and maybe not Representative Judkins' first love or first interest, but she proved herself to be a champion and a person who was really dedicated and interested in finding out best practices and understanding policies that would improve the lives of people in Utah. When I met Representative Judkins, my child had come out as transgender. And it was something that I was learning how to best support as a parent. And also at the same time, it was something that was becoming something of a culture war issue at the legislature. And Representative Judkins had some questions in the same way that I did as a parent about what it means to have a transgender child and what it means to support that child and its in all its forms, right? Like parenting in all its forms. And while initially we didn't really agree on direction, she was really dedicated to finding best options for me as a parent in my own journey, but also as a legislator grappling with some really tough issues, right? I extended an offer to her to come to the Allies Gala with me one year with Equality Utah, and she came, and she was one of the only Republicans in attendance at that gala, and she was attentive, and she was absorbing information, and she was learning in the same way that I was on how to support our kiddos. And I think to this day, in my 10 years at the legislature, that's one of my favorite interactions with the legislator at all, because it was such a personal issue for me, and she knew that it was a personal issue for me, and she gave up her time and she gave up her evening to come to this thing with me because it mattered to me. And I think that she left as with a greater understanding of how to support all Utahns in that area, and it was so meaningful to me as a parent, as an advocate, but also as a parent, that someone with maybe a disparate view of that particular issue would give up their time because they really wanted to understand the issue and not just oppose the issue blanket. And it was really beautiful to me. And I think maybe one of the introductions into my Marsha Judkins fandom.
My name is Rachel Craig. I'm the Government Affairs Manager at the Association for Utah Community Health. And I have been working closely with Representative Judkins probably for the last year or two. But I distinctly remember the first time I heard her speak at a Health and Human Services Committee meeting back in January of 2020. And I'd like to think in my head, we were working together since then, even though she might not have known it. And I just remember her asking really great questions about, the Medicaid population and other, other issues around, medically underserved areas, and just being really impressed with her expertise and really the way that she expressed herself and her thoughts about, access to healthcare and health equity. I think she's always been really willing to listen to alternative point of views and listen to real people too, not just us as advocates or sometimes even just lobbyists. She really is willing to listen to real people's experiences. And I think that's really important and not something that all lawmakers do in the creation of actual policy. Lawmakers might always listen to their constituents, but when it comes to actually creating the policy, that's not always something that is constituent focused. So that's the first thing I've noticed. The second thing is that she's never afraid to say something that might be unpopular or something that she knows isn't really going to be listened to or even happen, which I think is really hard to do. So I've always been really, really appreciative of that. And that was one of the first things I really noticed about her, was her willingness to, speak about issues that maybe weren't always brought up or not always popular within the committees that she serves in.
Congratulations, Representative Judkins. This is well-deserved. You have been a fighter and a champion for all of the people of Utah, and I can't think of somebody who deserves this more. As somebody who has offered a similar award in the same year, I have got to say that you are a favorite of all of the healthcare advocates in the state, and your advocacy and your fight for understanding and your fight for increasing access and affordability of healthcare has been much, much appreciated, and you will be desperately missed at the State House.
So congratulations, and I would say please don't leave the legislature, but I think it's too late for that. But I would just say that it's incredibly well-deserved. And I'd like to thank her for, all the advice over the years too. I haven't been at the legislature as long as a lot of other people are working with the legislature as long as other people, and her advice has been really, really valuable over the years.
She has always been a strong supporter of family physicians, and she understands the importance of advocating for primary care. And I'm just so happy that we're giving her this award this year. And while I'm still a bit mad at her for not running again, I look forward to whatever she does next, because it will be with the same thoughtfulness and integrity that she's shown through her tenure at the legislature. So congratulations, Representative Judkins. This is very well deserved.